thanks for Dave and Jason and the Lane Corman folks. Thanks for the cookies. Let's go ahead and get started. I know that Chip had a previous appointment. Mark is on vacation. Karen is getting ready for a kids' movie day at the mall, and Brad is at another meeting. Hey, Jason, how are you doing? It's very timely that he walked in. Before we do our normal introductions, I did want to introduce you to Dave Covington and Jason Tracy from VDOT and Lane Corman. And I tell you what, no matter what you think about the project or about VDOT, I've been around for 40-some years, and I have seen some great projects, but I've never seen anything to beat what these guys and all the folks that work with them, pulled off in 56 days. I mean, it's really great job, Dave and Jason. I really hand it to you. There's a lot of work to do. We're not finished, but to get that back open to traffic in that amount of time is, I know we've been talking a lot about 46 days early. What amazes me is the 57 days that you got it done in. So, but thank you, and I appreciate you taking time to come out here today, Jason. Let's go ahead and do our introductions. And well, for everybody tuned in, Route29solutions.org. Go to advisory panel. Go to the panel meetings, advisory panel documents. You'll see the presentation and the agenda for today. If anybody needs to take a rest, down the hallway to the right. If we need to leave the room, down the steps, out the front door to the left, and we rally back behind the building. Pete?
Pete Borchers, CMA Properties.
Morgan Butler, Southern Environmental Law Center.
Chris Engel, City of Charlottesville.
Henry Weinshank, Express Car Wash Consultants.
Dave?
Dave Covington, VDOT Charlottesville residents.
Debbie McKenna, Phillips, Kent.
Linda Collins, VDOT IT support.
Al Jones, VDOT Charlottesville Residency.
John Lynch, VDOT Culpeper District.
Lou Hatter, VDOT Communications.
And let's go to page 4, slide 4. Or slide 3. Good to go to 4. The last meeting again, the numbers are only about the same. Handful, fewer viewers, a few more streams per viewer, and the average number of minutes per stream about the same. So go on. More activity in the email box this time. 24 emails came in. One is either a repeat or a follow-up, perhaps, as far as the signing at the new ramp of 29-250. And I guess our view is it's not inaccurate, but traffic's still settling out there a little bit in terms of using the ramps or the through lanes. Continuing to monitor that, and if there should be need for an adjustment, we just have a chat about that. One said the links on the hydraulic page of the project website are broken, and I guess they weren't functioning properly, but that was a link back to the PDC's webpage.
PDC has apparently either moved or removed the old studies on the 29H250 plans. So
all right, but you got that information back to them. Thank you. One was disappointed. This was a comment we had at our last meeting asking about sidewalks and extending bike paths, and we said that we weren't adding those sidewalks where they weren't previously. And I think that same person just wrote back to say they were disappointed that was the situation. One was concerned about the free-flowing right from Ryle West to 29 North, potential conflicts with weaving, and I know we're all sensitive about that and watching it. So far, no issues. I was out there right about in the height of noon traffic today, lunchtime traffic, and it was working well. You certainly have to be careful and conduct your weave appropriately, but it seemed to be flowing well, and traffic seemed to be flowing well through the turn. At least it was the moment I was out there today, which is not an empirical study by any sense of the imagination. All of these comments about signal timing and turn cycles at Woodbrook and all of the other intersections are something, hi Kristen, are something we're going to be monitoring. We'll talk about that as another agenda item a bit, just to bring you up to date with where we are now. So there's a lot of comments about signal lights and timing, and they're all under that general category of things that we're watching for. I'll jump ahead just a little bit and tell you that the package of timing, the package is the right way to say that? I don't know how to. The package of all the signal timings through the corridor of from hydraulic all the way to airport, and from barracks all the way to the mall entrance road were just plugged in this week. So we need to keep the observations about signal timings and anything with the traffic signals, not the adaptive signals. We'll talk about that as well. But just the software package for the timing of the signals that are out there now went live one day earlier this week. So we need to keep monitoring all those issues. But 2 talked about the signal at Rio, left turn at Rio. 2 talked about just too many red lights, hitting too many red lights on 29. Another one at Hilton Heights, Pete had written, as well as a couple other people, about the left turn at Woodbrook. 12 people wrote in and said good job, and that was nice it was nice of them to do that. The deputy fire chief, and I read that note. Really, he was just explaining how the emergency services were going to be responding now that the road was back open.
It was just a heads up to his supervisor.
Yeah, it was a heads up to his supervisor.
And the volunteer fire department.
Right.
Seminole Trail.
One noted that the local lanes on 29 North are not aligned near Albemarle Square, and I think there is some restriping you're doing.
Yeah, I believe it was already done.
Okay.
The striping was installed per plan, but when you drive it, you can see where there could be some confusion or gives a perception of wanting to shift over a little bit, so we continued the through striping.
Okay. You think that striping's already been done? Okay.
I just haven't been out there.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Potential conflicts for vehicles merging, and the merges are things that need to work themselves out. And if you'll recall from many meetings ago, the weave distance is actually longer now than it was before, but it is a different situation out there with the grade separated intersection. The speed bumps at Carsbrook, I thought I saw something along the way where Joel was already addressing those. Are those coming off of Carsbrook?
Yes, they will be removed. I don't think they have a schedule for doing that.
Okay.
Yes, sir, they will be.
Okay. Those went on as part of helping kind of traffic calming for any diversions, which Carsbrook saw a big increase in local traffic while the intersection was closed. One person wrote in and thought that their Todd sign was missing. It's not, and we sent them some pictures of it to assure them that it was still there. But they also asked about whether or not VDOT was going to, when it says reinstall the street sign, it's reinstall the Albemarle Square sign that used to hang off of the signal that was there at Albemarle Square. And we're not going to reinstall that, and I think we offered it to the mall if they would want it, but we're not going to reinstall it as part of the project because the signal is gone. And another one about signal timing, so that goes in that same pot. There were 2 new web postings on the provide input. One person wrote in and said, gee, you exceeded expectations, that's really great. and another person wrote in criticizing the person for what they had to say. So that might be a little bit more personal than it is pertinent, but anyway, that was on the site. 5 calls came into the project hotline, and 1 to Chris. 1 was another request for some directions, 1 about signal timings, 1 for information about a damage claim, and Chris and Mike Corman's been handling those regularly. 1 was looking for a schedule update for finishing everything at Rio. 1 about speeding trucks. Did we refer that to Avalon County?
No, we referred it to our project team, and they're
Okay.
monitoring it to make sure that every night they advise, for every change of shift,
Gotcha.
they advise the truckers that they have to maintain the proper speeds and traffic, obey the traffic laws. So that's reinforced every day.
Oh, so this is our trucks, not about trucks in
No,
general.
this is our truck.
Oh, okay,
Claim it's
okay,
our truck.
okay. All right. And then there was 1 about dust control, which I know you also talked to the project team about. Any questions on those? Yes, sir.
I'll just report from the MPO meeting yesterday that there was 1 member of the public who came saying the $7 million bonus, he wished that it had been used to do something like bus rapid transit or some, that he thought there were better things we could have done with it. And I thought John did a really good job of kind of defending the practice and how that works and how it's determined and that who approved it and why it is that way.
Okay.
So it was well handled, but just it
Well,
was
good.
another public comment.
Good, okay, very good, thank you. All right. I went back and looked through the minutes again. We really didn't have any specific feedback from the last meeting. There wasn't really anything hanging out there from the last meeting, so there's nothing on that sheet. But here's the place where today and the next couple of meetings, I still remember the first meeting when I think you were the first one, Henry, to say that, there's a lot of things to do as we get ready for construction and during construction, but we really need to watch out for how things work after the intersection reopens. So I know that there's a lot of work yet to do with some final paving, lights. There's a couple months here, a few months of work, but now that the intersection is reopened, I think that your all's observations, comments, questions, Karen had a good list this morning of a handful of questions, that this would be a good place to capture those, and then I'll be sure to report back on them each meeting. In addition to anything else you have on your mind. But Henry, just since it's in a couple weeks, week and a half, it's been reopened, any observations, thoughts, things you want us to look at? Or
Well, no. Well, let me make a few comments.
Yeah.
First of all, Lynn Corwin did an outstanding job. When I was in corporate headquarters of United Parcel Service, we built about several dozen facilities every year, and I wish all our projects had gone that well. We had our share of headaches, and we were doing pretty well, but
we still need to finish.
I know. It will. I'm not worried about that. They really have done a great job, and doing the whole thing in essentially 2 months in round numbers is really fantastic. So they did a great job, and if VDOT can repeat this stuff elsewhere, VDOT will probably be the best transportation department in the nation, because they really did a great job, did it very quickly. And I know it took a lot of preparation and planning and logistics way in advance that just came to fruition, so you guys really deserve a pat on the back.
Thank you.
Some of the smaller things where people did comment, I've been driving it, and the signing at 29-250 is right. You and I were worried at one time when we looked at the photographs.
Right.
But once you get used to it and you know what it is, it was confusing before, actually, when you have these 2 lanes that turn on hydraulic road, and you had to know what lane you had to be in, depending where you wanted to go. And if you want to go all the way to Barracks Road, you needed to be on that lane furthest to the left, and if you needed to get up the ramp, you had to be on the right, and so on. So this is a little bit different, but I've driven it, and the signage is correct.
Yeah.
And once you know what you're doing, it works not just as well as before, but actually works better than before. So I would say no need to worry about that comment. Disappointment about sidewalks, well, I have this penchant that if we have an urbanized area, we should have sidewalks. Actually, there is some law about complete streets, and that I know it's not part of the project, because within the project it's there. That the county representative isn't here today, so I can beat up on the county a little bit. That they should really find ways of extending it, by all means. The free-flowing right from Rio West to 29, I've driven it, and I can understand that it's a little bit scary. It's actually very similar to what happens in a cloverleaf. You get out on your cloverleaf, and somebody else wants to get, you know, I mean, you get on the interstate, and somebody else wants to get off the interstate.
Right.
So you have that crossover. So you have a little bit of that, but with the difference that the amount of traffic going into Almar Square is not comparable to Cloverleaf. So I think that, again, people need to get used to it, that, you know, having driven it just once, I know it will work. I'm not overly concerned. Then you brought up the question, well, what happens after? Well, what happens after, we need about a few years to see if those businesses that are up there can survive or not. If the Hess Station can survive, if Hardee's and the other fast foods, Wendy's and so on, if their sales figure are plummeting or not. Somebody may try to get some preliminary numbers from them. Maybe Lou, who has developed a lot of contacts there, maybe he can get a reading. But I can see, I've driven this project a few times, and, you know, I've been happily going onto the underpass, and because I had no reason to stop at, you know, anything adjacent to Riot, so they're out of my sight, they're out of my mind, and as new people come into town, they may never know these businesses even exist. So from that point of view, it's early to tell. Now, if we're lucky, somehow they managed to do fine, despite that they lost a lot of their traffic volume in front of their doors. And if we're not so lucky, they'll be boarded up business. That was my concern then. Time will tell. I could be wrong, or I could have been right. Either way. So,
what do you think about the visibility of the Rio business area as you approach either side of the through lane, of the underpass?
Well, the visibility is...
which I realize is a different thing than being on the local lanes.
Yeah, but you know, when you drive, you look straight up front. You don't look to the side. So, yes, if you make an effort to look to the side, whatever, you can see that where the CVS building is going to end, the old building has been torn down, whatever. But unless, you know, once you're driving in those central lanes, you know, to get the underpass, that doesn't exist anymore. And it's the nature of the beast. I mean, that's something that I pointed out back then, that you have the great separation, and therefore you don't know what's up there. It's like on the 250 bypass, I don't remember the cross street, I think it's Locust Avenue or something like that. I've taken people up there to show them what's out there, and they had to confess that after decades of living in Charlottesville, they never knew what's up there. And that may happen here, except that you have two local lanes at least. So hopefully they survive, but we'll see what impact. There's a lot of, I mean, especially gas stations, they depend on visibility. And they...
Well, one of Karen's comments, if you saw it today, was asking about studies that would look at the traffic split, essentially, between the local lanes and the through lanes. And that is something we'll be looking at. I noticed today, again, you really can't conclude anything from a couple of drive-throughs. Speaking for myself, there was a good number of traffic traveling through on the local lanes from one side to the other. What that means, I don't.
Yeah, you don't know if they did it.
Lost.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, absolutely.
On a deliberate way, or they did
Absolutely.
it because of habit.
Absolutely.
That way.
Yeah, yeah.
If I'm going to Raleigh Road and I'm coming from the airport, I'm going on that underpass.
Right, sure.
I've done it several times already. I mean,
Sure.
I have no reason to be up there and
Yeah.
hit the traffic light. Now that our fellow taxpayers have spent all that money in making it easy for me not to deal with that traffic light, I'm going to go underneath. Now, you and I had thrown numbers back and forth with each other.
Yes, we did.
How they split.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah, we'll
now you can get an empirical
Yeah,
count.
right.
And you probably need to wait a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
People got
Yeah.
used to it. You need a few months. And then we can do actual counts and see how close or how far we were off of the numbers if you're not true with each other.
Yeah.
One of you will have to buy the other dinner.
We owe each other that for,
Well, I used his
For many
numbers,
reasons. Yeah.
And then he tried to, whatever.
yeah,
We were talking for us. We didn't.
we should each do it.
You weren't here yet. We were reasonable, because when he threw numbers at me, I went back to his numbers. And at the end, we had
Yeah,
reached an
well,
agreement.
no, you're right.
I forgot where it is, but what we thought the split was
Yeah.
based on the data we had. We didn't disagree on the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Chris, any?
Two items. One you kind of already touched on. Karen mentioned about the traffic counts, but more specifically, the going back a couple of years and looking at traffic that was turning onto or off of Rio from 29 and comparing that to 6 months from now, just to see if people are paying attention to the signs or not.
Okay.
And then the other one would be, we had a lot of discussion about the odds signs and the special program, and I can't remember what the timing on that was, but at some point that runs out, and I don't know when that meter starts or not, but just curious about that as
October
well.
next year.
Yeah, well, they have to sign up, I think they get notices in August of next year, so roughly a year from now, a business would get a notice regarding whether or not they wanted to continue with the program. And if they did, then they have to pay the annual fee.
So it's the end of the whole project?
Yeah, it's the end of the whole it's the end of the whole project, not just Rio. Yeah. Okay. Well, is anything else comes up from any of the, your folks or Alex's, Tony Edwards, any of those folks, just let us know. Kristen?
Good.
You're good. Okay. All right. All right.
First, I just want to echo Henry's sentiments and the sentiments that some of the folks in the room have offered, just to congratulate and thank VDOT and Maine Corpsman for getting through that phase of the project so quickly. I think, Phil, you're right, there's still quite a bit of work to go, and fingers are still crossed, but I think it showed a lot of respect for the community that you all were able to get in there and minimize that amount of time to the extent you did, and just wanted to say thank you and good job. As far as specific observations, I've got two pretty minor ones, and then one that's, I remember talking about it at a prior meeting, but I can't remember really where we came out. I know obviously where we came out because it's reflected in the current design, but some of the thinking behind that. The first smaller one is you drive on 29 northbound, as you approach the interchange, I think one of the temporary traffic lights is still there.
Yeah.
And the lights are covered with dark plastic bags or something.
Yeah.
And somehow they're perfectly aligned to block the sign.
Yes, they are.
Which ways to get in.
Yes, they are, and those are coming down soon, right, Jason? Real soon.
Like later today.
But they are perfectly lined. You probably could not have designed that.
I actually, the first time I approached it,
Yeah.
I thought the bags were over the arrows on the side.
Yeah,
Why are
yeah.
they doing that? That's
No, good. That's a good catch.
I noticed that.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So the second minor one is coming through the through lane southbound. There are a couple of manhole covers that stick up pretty prominently. I think that was mentioned maybe in the VDOT newsletter or something. I saw someone else notice that one too, so I imagine it would be addressed sooner or later, but they do stick out pretty far. I can see them being a problem. People try to swerve to this.
Motorcycles.
Dave will tell us a little bit more about, or you can do it now, about the paving.
Yeah. I actually, well, to address both of those issues, the final surface course has not been put on yet, so everybody's running on what we call intermediate. So we have another 2-inch layer of final pavement to be done. And we talked this morning, middle of August, that's scheduled for the surface to be put down. So that'll bring that elevation up to where the manhole covers are.
Just to make sure we're not confusing anything there, the interim milestone was the intermediate course, which is what's down there now. But
Yes.
Permanent course needs to go in.
Yeah, and with regard, I heard the comment about motorcycles, and I'm a little sensitive to that. I ride one.
Same here.
Made sure to ride through the project numerous times at various stages to make sure that, I wouldn't want somebody riding a motorcycle through a project that I wouldn't. So there's challenges out there, but nothing that, if you're paying attention, it's probably an issue.
Is there any practice of like putting yellow paint around something big like that?
Yeah, that actually came up this morning, and what we're going to do is go out and just put some, I think, white paint
Some reflective something.
right there in front of where the manhole covers are to catch your attention.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And the third, somewhat more challenging question, is you're on the northbound local lanes coming up to Rio Road. The 2 left-hand turn lanes, the 2 through lanes, the right through lane, you're also able to take a right. I haven't been there during rush hour, but I've had a couple different people point out to me that people who want to turn right there are getting basically blocked because through traffic is stopping at the red light and basically cutting off the right turn ramp, veers off. I just wonder, I remember specifically discussing this, and I think maybe the answer was we're kind of prioritizing the higher volumes of traffic that were predicted, but I just wonder if there's a way to make it more efficient there for the people who are making that right turn to get through there without having to stop and back traffic up. And maybe the answer involves something on the other side of the intersection with the right-hand turn lane that comes out. But I think it's an issue that maybe others have similar observations, but it might be something we want.
So northbound traffic that wants to go east on Ryan?
Yes, northbound. You get up, you're heading north from 29, get up on the local lanes, and you want to take a right turn to head east on Rio. Apparently that right, it's a through lane, but apparently that lane is getting backed up. People can't turn right.
There's no stacking for the turn. That's the issue.
Right.
The reason that we don't have a dedicated turn lane there is we had very little to no right of way in that location to add that turn lane. Also, although there are people using it, it's not a real heavy movement, especially in the afternoon peak hour. But it's something that we certainly can keep an eye on.
Also goes back to what Chris asked about though too, was getting some counts on the turning movements to now start to develop a not a projected but a real baseline for traffic and movements in the intersection.
Right.
Okay.
It's determined that few enough cars are actually going straight there. Perhaps, I'm just throwing this out there, you could have one through lane and make the right-hand turn lane dedicated. The right-hand through lane and dedicated right-hand turn lane.
But you just want to know you had the numbers and weren't exacerbating another problem.
To that too, eventually we assume that the senior center will be up there and there might be even more traffic going that way.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's probably not going to shrink.
Did that make sense?
No, I understand. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. No, I understand the issue.
And then, it sounds like we'll touch on this, but just the traffic lights and the plethora of comments about.
Right. We'll be touching on that probably for a couple of meetings to come before that. So
Some of them will just
Right.
make observations and make
Yes.
tweaks, and then React, yeah, okay. It's
Yeah.
not like the software is going to, with the.
Yeah, the adaptive software won't be initialized until after October of 2017.
Right.
But there were some time, we'll just mention this now for a minute. Part of the design for the traffic signals includes timing. And it's all based off of the traffic model. So while these guys are building, there's designers and traffic engineers that are developing a package for timing. And this package goes beyond the intersection. It goes from hydraulic to Airport Road, and from Barracks to, on Rio, from Barracks to Mall Road, where it goes into Albemarle and Fashion Square. And that package is handed off to VDOT's traffic ops that pushes it out to the signals. And that just happened this week.
Right, okay.
So we're going to have a period of time here that will make some changes and might address some of the comments that we've gotten. It may create new ones that we don't know about yet. So we'll just have to keep watching that. The one good thing about that is people aren't shy about, writing in and making a comment about signals. And I think Grant, the traffic ops folks, Jason's designers, RK&K guys are talking pretty close. And remember, the reason we broke the adaptive signals up to phase 1 and phase 2 was just so VDOT's traffic ops folks could keep making these observations with the first half of the adaptive signals during and after construction.
And of course, the traffic's still settling out and getting used to the new.
Oh, yeah,
pattern,
yeah.
So it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to try to program everything to meet the conditions that were there yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that's what you don't want to do, but it does, takes a little time. So.
One thing that I think is a key component, the objective is a green band. You've probably heard that term before. It's that if you hit the timing just right and you're driving the speed limit, you can hit all the green lights. And that's what we required out of the designer's corridor-wide traffic timing plan. And so they gave us this plan, and hopefully that's where we end up. But one thing you also have to remember is if there's a green band, then there's likely a red band as well.
That's right.
So you can hit it wrong and hit every red light. I'm not saying that's what happened over the
Although once
past
you stop,
week and a half.
you're at a green light,
Right.
so presumably.
The issue is none of us drive like they design.
Well, right, and
Or at least not all of us.
or if you're
Speaking for
just a
myself.
few seconds late, and you hit that first red light.
Yeah.
Odds are, because it's timed based on the speed at which you drive, you're going to hit more red lights. You might hit all
So
of them.
you won't go until it's green.
Right.
By then it'll be green.
Well, in theory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you have a lead foot.
It'll
You'll hit the red.
take a while. It'll take a while for that stuff to settle out. That's why we want to
Hit
keep
the
it.
end of green just by a little bit.
Then you keep hitting yellows all the way up. Yeah.
I know
They
when
go
I
a little
lived in
faster.
Richmond, they did the same thing on Cary Street.
Mm-hmm.
And if you timed it just right, and everybody knew the timing, they would slow down
Yep.
and wait for that light, and you could go all the way to the bottom without ever stopping that red light. But you got caught by one, you got caught by all of them. So just something to be aware of. That's where we're headed. Did we get it just right the very first time? Probably not. But I know that the TOC folks are already making observations. Next week, the traffic engineers from RK&K are going to be out making observations at all these signals, and they'll make recommendations based on those observations of how to change the timing to make it better. So that's the process.
That'll be an iterative process for a while. Anything
That's all
else?
I have, thank you.
Pete?
Real quickly, I'll echo everybody else's congratulations and thanks. I mean, it was a tremendous engineering job and execution. I think it exceeded everybody else's expectations, pros and cons, and everybody in between. So certainly grateful for that. I mean, I'm just going to jump in on the signal timing.
Yeah.
Because you've heard from me every other day.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck out there. And from what I've heard in the last 10 minutes, I mean, the businesses and the community can't wait till October 17, and we have to do something about it between now and then. I mean, it's completely the inverse of what we're seeing, from the green run now. I mean, it's red to red to red to red. So I'm hopeful that we can get that straightened out somewhat before the volume of UVA students and faculty comes back in 3 weeks. On that note, I think that's really going to be the telltale sign of how the traffic's working out, because those drivers are not familiar with what we're doing. I think the signage that's up there now with the intersection will be, the true test will be how intuitive it is for them that have never seen it. When that wave of students comes in that weekend, it'll be interesting to see how that works out, and I hope it works out okay. I think it'll work out fine.
It's not far off, right?
But I mean, that really is
Month and a half?
substantial volume increase. No, it's not. It's 3 weeks.
Some of the athletes.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Moving
Jesus,
day.
Monday is August, isn't it?
21st, 22nd.
Yeah, okay.
Three
Okay.
weeks, 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's, and then the Woodbrook turn specifically is what it is. But the northbound 29 to westbound Woodbrook is just an absolutely critical turn. The volume has increased substantially after getting rid of that U-turn at Myers Drive,
Yeah.
which was part of the plan, understood.
Right.
But all of that U-turn traffic that was turning around there is now turning around Woodbrook again. And as people get used to this through lane, local lane thing, you're going to have tons of people missing that left turn at Riot and asking themselves, how do I get there? And I'm there almost every day making that U-turn movement. I haven't been there yet where the traffic isn't stacked through to the through lane. It doesn't seem like it's that hard to add time. I mean, that was what we talked about, add time to that left turn movement. But I mean, you have a ton of cars going all day, every day. I hope we can.
This may bring up again the issue of the stacking lane and the geometry. When you look at it right there, you can see it because the color of the pavement, you see the pavement, the pavement. It seems to be such a minor increment to the stacking, where you even wonder if it even adds a car to the stacking by actually looking at it. It's like so minor, the addition of new blacktop to the old blacktop. So
Well,
I wonder if it won't need more stacking sooner or later.
Well, the true answer is we don't know. We know from the analysis what that showed. We know what we agreed to was a minimum of 50 feet. We know by plotting the average 20-foot vehicle with 5-foot clearance, it's three more cars. But we I mean.
The theory sounded good, though. When you look at it, you wonder yourself. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Is this all we did?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
the whole strip. And the good thing is there is room to add stacking.
No, there's not. There's a gas line. That's why they didn't.
There's
why it didn't get added. There's a
Sorry,
gas
I
line.
didn't realize that. That was
Well, what we said we added got added.
Yeah.
So we just need to keep watching it all. I mean, there's no question about that. The signal issues, what comments were based on last week has changed with pushing these design timings through. So we need to keep watching and keep adjusting, not just every 2 weeks, but every day as observations come in. And Grant, that a lot of you guys met when we went out to the Traffic Operations Center, I mean, is still the most knowledgeable individual with the traffic signals on this corridor. And frankly, I don't know of many weeks that went by since you started the nighttime operation, that there wasn't a twist and tweak here and there. I mean, these are seconds, right? I mean, these are, seconds of ad grain, but it comes off of somewhere else.
Always, yeah.
And we just need to keep doing it. I'm not underplaying it by any stretch of imagination. It's important, and that's why your observations are important, in addition to what he's seeing there in a room watching a bunch of cameras. We just all need to keep a close eye on it.
About the gas line, which I didn't recall about that.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, how do you handle the gas line and do expand the stack?
Somebody spends a lot of money, but
Like what kind of money? Any idea? Ballpark, order of magnitude?
Well, I mean, it's not a severe relocation for gas. It's not something that, we want to do just for the sake of doing it. But, I mean, it's not like relocating an 8-inch main. I think it's a 2-inch surface and valve, so it's not.
there's a valve there.
There's a valve there, and I'm not sure about the depth of the main. Is it goes over the median in that location?
So there's a significant cost involved. It's not kind of an impossible cost.
No, it's not impossible, but it is significant.
So
we
that's
just need
still
to-
an option.
Just need to see.
If after all the tweaking, we still have a problem stacking there and blocking the true lane, then it may have to be done.
If there's an issue and it's blocking the through lanes, that's going to be something that's going to get John's attention, and just have to see.
Okay. So there's nothing that totally prevents it, if it needs to happen.
There's nothing that totally prevents doing anything.
Well,
So no.
certain things.
No, I understand what you mean. No, I
Sky hopes and stuff like that.
yeah.
And this is kind of
Yeah.
a lower level. It's not sky.
Yeah, we need to watch it.
One of the other things I'd like to point out that may simplify the timing issue is I've been keeping a close eye on that intersection, and where I've seen an issue is midday. It's lunchtime. AM and PM, it doesn't seem to be a very big issue. But during lunchtime, everybody wants to get into Bridalveille Shopping Center. Everyone wants to go to Chick-fil-A.
Saturdays
Weekends.
Saturdays are substantial. Grocery shopping and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
car shopping.
and so an adjustment to the midday timing, because we usually have AM, we have midday, we have PM, we have nighttime, so we have different timings for different times of the day. That's an easier adjustment to make than a PM peak hour where everybody's looking focused on the through lanes. So, I think that's an adjustment that we'll be seeing very shortly.
Well, we want to make considered adjustments. We need to get these observations, let some independent folks take a peek at them, Grant, RK&K folks, and then adjust and fine tune to get it as good as it can be.
Obviously, the first step is observing.
Pushing these out.
We made the first.
Yeah.
Well, if it helps, the interchange at McIntyre and the 250 bypass, the traffic lights at the beginning were absolutely crazy.
Where are they?
Get
across.
Where are they?
Oh, yes. I mean, if
Yeah.
you came from downtown and you wanted to go on 250 west, you had to wait for the traffic light to turn. Then you got under the bridge, and it just got red as soon as you got under the
And
bridge.
you get gridlock
Then you had
where
to wait
people walk
again.
the intersection because they were stuck at the second light.
And,
Has that gotten?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
worked
that
out?
takes.
Yeah, okay.
If
You
you
wait
got
a while,
green,
but once you go start,
you get on
Yeah.
that ramp, you have the turns light
Okay.
on,
All right.
perfect. But at the beginning, it was nuts.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay.
I understand how we can
Okay.
improve on that.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I apologize for being out of turn, but I have one completely
Yes.
unrelated observation that I think is worth doing, and you all may have done it in the 3 minutes before I got here. I went to get some more water, and often I think watching at home for folks is really nice because they're there. Today, you missed out because there are some amazing cookies over there.
Yeah.
Did you bring those, or?
No. Our guest
Midday
brought
Sour.
the cookies.
Thank you. They
Yeah.
are incredibly good. If anybody hasn't got them.
Everybody, that one.
It was very nice. There are cookies for anybody who wants cookies.
I will,
I want to bring the basket for it.
Yeah,
We could hold it up in front of the camera.
that would be neat.
No, it was very nice.
There's a separate stash, but
in a few minutes I will have.
They're all drinking beer. Probably not
I
supposed
think
to say
these
that.
cookies are better than beer.
All right, thank you. Please, as you see things, even if it's just one trip, if you hear something, shoot me a note, because we're going to be collecting all of these, and this is a real important time to get these comments. If you hear it up through council or county and board of supervisors meetings. All right, let's take a look at this. Obviously, the big one that changed was the turning the right restricted period green. The final signing also complete. The contract completion date is December the 2nd of this year. So that would be everything finished. And I do understand the citizens' comments about the use of money. I'm glad they got a big check, and I hope you get to enjoy a little bit of that, Jason. But that was good. The Route 29 widening, well, that's been complete. The gas line relocation, water line relocation starting now, 10% complete. Some more on drainage and paving, and Dave got a couple good pictures of that up at 29 widening. It's 25% complete. The phase 2 drainage and paving, double big jump there, is 80% complete. That was scheduled to be 100% complete by the end of this month, so I expect to see some real progress there over the next two weeks. Berkmar is the one that's kind of out of sight, but certainly not out of mind by any stretch of imagination. Clearing complete, north of Buttman complete. Utility relocations are complete. Roadway construction on the south side of the river, 40% complete. The piers really coming up out of the water, 85% complete. A lot of work going on there. Hillsdale, the contractor got his notice to proceed. We still hope to have that scheduled by the next. We have the schedule.
2 days.
2 days. That's good music to my ears. Good. So once we get that scheduled, then we can convert this over to more of a construction look. But we're going to continue a weekly phone call with the city on our Monday morning call to make sure that we just keep maintaining our discipline for managing these projects, and are happy to see that move along. This one I'll drop off, 29-250. Happily say that was done, and it was done later than we hoped for it to be complete, but done nonetheless. And unless you want to keep seeing it, I'll get it off of there. And
Got to make room for lights and trains.
we'll make room for we'll make room for other things. So if there are any questions about there, go ahead. I rearranged the agenda just a little bit, pull the interim milestones up just to remind everybody what the interim milestones are. Finished, and I don't mind telling you that while everybody was excited to turn everything green, traffic was turned loose before we were able to say you finished everything you needed to finish. So there was 2 days? So there was 2 days of traffic that were out there before we could say to Jason, you're finished and this is the day that's used to calculate your bonus. And it frankly had to do with the pedestrian signals. So it took just a couple extra days to say you're done, but done nonetheless, and we'll get that off of there. And leading into Dave's project updates, I asked Dave to spend a little bit of time on Rio, just telling you a little of what you might expect to see over the next few weeks with respect to finishing the paving and the installation of the crosswalks. Dave?
Thank you. So we'll start off with Rio. No update on 29-250. I think I got a little redundant. You'll notice here, just at first glance, this long list of items that we've been talking about for the past 2 months has really shrunk down a lot now. So we don't have the iterative process of the retaining walls and all that. But we do have some familiar items up here. So this week, working on the sidewalks and curbs on the outside and drop inlet tops, and finishing up all the miscellaneous concrete items, generally on the outside of the project, the 4 quadrants, grading the outside slopes. We have a stormwater facility 4 repair. When the pipe was put in the ground, it was damaged a little bit. It's got a temporary repair on it, so it's functioning just fine, but they have to actually go in and replace that. Punch list items, this is a list of items that we generate at the end of every project to make sure that all those things that we've been noticing as we've been inspecting the project over the entire course of construction don't get forgotten about at the end. So we've generated our first preliminary list, given that to Lane Corman so that they can begin working on some of those. Some of those include wall repairs. These walls went up very quickly. They weren't perfect. We knew it. So now it's time to come back and make them perfect before they get stained and sealed and all the aesthetic features applied. Bridge parapet finishing, that's again making those parapet walls that look just a little bit rough right now because no time was taken to make them look aesthetic, going in and hand rubbing those and getting those ready for staining and sealing. Pouring the remaining stamped concrete islands. There's a few areas where they still need to go ahead and put in those islands. I know specifically on the west side of 29 on Rio, there's a large area there that needs to be done. Electrical punch list as we get ready for the roadway, the depressed lane lighting, as well as the remainder of the pedestrian lighting. So obviously folks check the electrical installations very closely, and continuing with the pedestrian light pole installations on the sidewalks. This picture turned out a little darker than I had hoped. This is actually an interesting picture. This was
actually a dark moment.
It was a dark moment. It was a very tense moment. This picture was taken last Monday night, probably about 8 o'clock, 8:30. There was a lot of us standing out there on the bridge. Everybody was excited to get the project open back up that night. This right here is rain. It was pouring rain in Forest Lakes. It was pouring rain to the south of us. There was lightning to the south of us. If we would have gotten any more rain here, that would have been it for that night. So I thought it was an interesting picture that we would show that, as it says up there, tense moments at Rio before opening.
What time did it open? Because I went through about 11:30, and I was at the light, and I stopped and asked a guy, and he said, well, if you wait about 20 minutes, we'll have it open.
But
I was
good thing you didn't wait.
To see, and I couldn't.
It was a good thing you didn't wait.
Okay.
It was later, probably somewhere around 4 a.m.
Yeah, you sent me a note at 4:10.
Yeah, 4:10. Okay. Yeah. So we had to work out some traffic signal issues. Obviously couldn't open it until the signal was ready. So this is just a picture looking to the south, standing on the bridge. I think it really demonstrates what the through lanes look like from above, and I think they look great, and what the retaining walls look like right now, and we can compare this picture to when all the staining is done and how much better it's going to look when all the staining is done.
little bulb outs where lights are gonna be?
Yeah, these little white pole blisters there, there's one over here and there, so that's where the through lane lighting will be installed. Okay, so lane closures, now we've gone back to pre-May 23rd, so everything is being done at night as far as lane closures. There may still be some work going on out there. I know that the signal subcontractor has been out there labeling wires and they're working in signal cabinets, but that doesn't require a lane closure. So anything requiring lane closures, we're back to the 9 to 6 pre-May 23rd function. Next slide. So over the next 2 weeks, a lot of the same items: grading the outside slopes, punch list items, wall repairs, bridge parapet finishing, the signal, Berkmar and Rio signal foundations. This is a signal that we included with the project to be reconstructed because it's had some issues over the years. We did ask them to make a change to that so it didn't get completed before the shutdown, the crossover shutdown period. So they're going to come back and finish that up. The change was the flashing yellow left like we now have at the Berkmar Woodbrook signal. And then continuing installation of the pedestrian light poles on the sidewalks. Now, as far as what to expect moving forward, I think middle of August, having the surface course put down, obviously tidying up these sidewalks and slopes and pedestrian light poles. That's all going to shape up pretty quickly, but the item that's really going to take some time is the staining. We've got a application on these walls where there's a base coat and then 6 different colors. So all that's hand done. So to prep the walls, stain them and seal them, it's probably going to take a month and a half, maybe 2 months total time.
Do we have to close lanes when they're doing that?
At
or-
night, yeah.
So they could do it, I guess there's enough light.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, once the through lane lights are there, plus the under the bridge, there'll be quite a bit of light out there.
And that's part of the work that it's required to be done by the December 2nd?
Yes. Everything on Rio GSI has to be done on or before December 2nd.
And what's it looking like for that December 2nd deadline?
No issues achieving that.
I mean, is it going to be like 45 days early, or is it going to be closer than that?
I don't know if I want to put a number on it. I don't know.
Let's just say it'll be on or before December 2nd right now.
I will accept that for now.
Something tells me it'll be before December 2nd, and probably well before it. But we're talking an easy 2 or 3 months worth of work here, just with those items there. So still a good bit of work to do, but it's all low risk. Doesn't require extensive lane closures.
Dave, will the final surface paving by mid-August include the local lanes?
Yeah, that's my understanding. Local lanes, through lanes, everything.
Yeah, good.
And so that'll be a big difference in what we call rideability, ride quality on that project.
Okay.
All right. Next slide. And again, lane closures over the next 2 weeks, the same as what we just discussed. Any other questions on Rio? Okay. So the 29 widening, a lot of those folks that went down to help out on Rio, those highly skilled operators, they've now moved back up to 29 widening to help out up there. So we're seeing things ramp up on that project. And before I forget, I know there was some talk about one of the schedule items on phase 2 grading. I think this morning we had a meeting about the shifting of traffic over to the new lane in the median. So this phase 2 traffic shift, which is supposed to occur next Wednesday or Thursday, depending on weather. So we're talking next week of getting all that finished up, paved, striped, and get traffic moved over to the new median lanes for southbound traffic.
So you'll still have 2 and 2,
Yes.
but there'll be 2 in the middle.
Yeah, all we're doing is taking the southbound lanes and just shift them over to that median. You have the 2 lanes southbound. The 2 northbound lanes will stay where they're at for now. And then when the new southbound lanes are constructed, they'll move that traffic. Switch it over. Yep. So work this week, working on some erosion control ditches and pond 2 and 5. They're installing the drainage, performing the excavations for those ponds, ditch construction leading up to the traffic shift, so they have to not only have asphalt there, but ability to drain water away from the project. Continuing the sub-base stone and fine grading north of Hollymead, so the very northern end of the project. Slope construction, we've got a box culvert, structure 1611 being installed, permanent slope seeding, phase 2 striping, asphalt paving. A lot of this has already been done, so we'll see striping later this week and possibly, depending on weather, maybe into early next week. We have some end walls. These are the structures on the ends of the pipes being installed this week. Another drainage structure of pipe 1521. Jack and bore operation continues. They're working on 3 of those right now. As they finish up one of those, they will mobilize to the last jack and bore. So we only have 1 more of those left to perform, in addition to these here. And continuing to relocate the aerial telecommunication lines to the new Dominion Virginia power poles. This is Comcast and all those other communication utilities. This shows some of the asphalt. This picture was taken earlier this week, just showing you those lanes in the median that haven't been striped yet, but these are the southbound lanes here, and as phase 2 traffic shifts, we'll just move the traffic over there. Work will generally continue behind barrier wall, so we won't have, equipment or personnel working real close to traffic or anything, so it should feel pretty safe, kind of like it does now. You have that protection of that barrier wall. And this is another location with the same operation. This is right there at Ashwood. You can see the wire wall here. So that's to work out that grade difference between the northbound lanes, and so we're fixing that kind of roller coaster feel through there.
When that gets built up there, ultimately, will that wire wall still be in there, or will they take that out?
It'll stay in the fill. Yeah. So just come back here and just put the fill in adjacent to that instead of having to pull it up. So lane closures, same as they've always been on 29 Wadney. Nighttime lane closures, they may do 1 northbound or 1 southbound, depending on, right now I know they're moving barrier wall. That requires lane closures. I know we had a period of time when there wasn't much night work, if any, going on out there, but that'll kind of start ramping up with the paving and the line striping and all that. So over the next 2 weeks, continuing ponds 2 and 5, phase 2 and 5 drainage installations, pond 5 excavation, asphalt demolition in areas on the southbound lanes where they do need to demolish pavement. They will reuse some of that pavement. Removing guardrail, grading slopes, pipe collars generally at the stormwater basins, constructing a small retaining wall up at Coles, paving the intersection at Ashwood to work out that grade. There's going to be an iterative process of trying to work that grade out while still providing traffic in and out of Ashwood Boulevard. The southern tie-in and barrier wall removal, which is one of the things that's already being worked on now. Continuing with the jack and bore operations and relocating the aerial telecommunication lines. And same lane closures over the next 2 weeks, as we just talked about for this week. Any questions on 29 Wadney? And again, now that Rio is done, not that everybody that worked on Rio moved up to 29 Wadney, but we're going to start seeing that acceleration of that project. Workmore Extended. Again, as Philip mentioned, this is kind of the project that's out there that people forget about. There's a lot of work going on over there, and it's been going on very quickly, and it's getting ready to speed up even more. But this week, they're working on erosion control maintenance. That's a long project. It's a constant process. Excavation south of the river, and they're hauling that dirt up to the north side to put it as embankment and compacting it. Excavation of Pond 6. So the last few meetings, we talked about, Pond 2, Pond 8, Pond 4. A lot of these ponds are starting to be constructed for stormwater management. Pier Cap 1 was poured yesterday. I believe Pier Cap 2 will be formed either late this week or early next week and poured. So all the piers are up. Now they're doing the caps. That's just about the last step before they start setting steel beams, which is coming very soon. We're also constructing the crane pads that will sit there to lift these beams into place. They do have some more blasting to do up behind the coals and an encasement or protection of an existing sanitary sewer line that runs under there that they're doing for, I believe that's RWSA sewer line. So this picture shows them lifting the rebar cage into place. So this is pier 1. So you see the 3 piers that we have, the form work up there, and they take this and set that in there to get that ready for the concrete pour. I think we have a picture. Yeah, this is them actually setting it in the form work here. So that's what was constructed, or that was poured earlier this week. That's done now. They can move on to pier 2. Lane closures, flagging operation along Ryder Mills Road for this week. So next two weeks looks very similar to this week. Really, the only difference is they finished up pond 6, moved to pond 8, form and pour pier cap 2, form work removal. So once all this is cured, they're just going to get that form work out of there. Takes up a lot of space. Finish up the crane pads, a little more blasting behind poles, and some drainage at above net. With regard to the lane closures, we do have still that flagging operation along Ryder Mills Road. But one of the things that I'll let you know is that the steel beams are going to be coming in pretty soon. It may be 3 weeks out, 2 to 3 weeks out, but these are very large beams. They have to be transported at night. But when they do come in Ryder Mills Road, they're pretty much going to have to shut down that section of Ryder Mills Road. Extremely large trucks, extremely large beams, and for everyone's safety, just get traffic off, have a detour route in place. So that
For how long? How long do you think each one of those?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a situation where we're shutting it down all night, for however many nights I think it's going to be. We have a truck come one night, shut it down for a couple hours, get the beam off the truck, send the truck on its way, open it back up. But again, these are very much oversized loads, not something that will generally be traveling during the day.
How many beams are there approximately?
I haven't even looked into that. I'd have to check and look. I believe at least 18. I'd have to go back and check. Jason, you don't recall how many beams you have for Berkmore, do you? Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one who doesn't know that off the top of my head. We'll check into that and let you know that.
The only reason I'm curious is just how many of those closure periods there will be.
I don't anticipate much of an issue on Ryder Mills. At nighttime, it's very low traffic.
I don't remember.
But we'll look. We'll check how many beams. The other thing is that when they go to set the beams, obviously we'll be setting beams over top of Ryder Mills Road, so we'll have to do closures when we're setting those beams in an abundance of caution. No setting beams over vehicles.
No.
Okay, any other questions on Berkmore? If you haven't been out there and you have some time and don't mind getting your car a little bit dusty, I encourage you to drive down there. It's coming along, especially once the beams get started. Al, you want to go up and tell us about Hillsdale?
Sure.
Tell us the good utility needs too, I guess. We've got a little bit of that.
Hillsdale, obviously the mobilization work is continuing, as is environmental controls and surveying, which is probably the predominant activity right now, setting baselines, getting controls set. Utility relocations continue. CenturyLink is about wrapped up with their work. Dominion Power is continuing to work. Some of these storms that are popping up and knocking power out in other locations has an effect on their abilities to stay engaged, but they're working along. Phase 1 clearing, they're preparing for that. And as I said earlier, the baseline schedule is due in 2 days. We did get a preliminary schedule that was not very detailed. It facilitated their scheduling meeting with the city for their preparation of the baseline. So we'll have a good idea for the next meeting on those construction activities. Next 2 weeks, largely the same. The contractor has been working on their submittals and to obtain permits, and the project baseline schedule will be at hand.
One of the things, real quick, Hal mentioned that CenturyLink is finishing up their relocations. CenturyLink has been a really good partner for us through all of these projects. They have consistently exceeded our expectations.
That's right.
Of what our normal experience is with CenturyLink. And they're about to achieve their earliest potential completion date on Hillsdale. So we're really excited that they're ahead of schedule. And as Hal mentioned, we have issues with Dominion, but it's not Dominion, it's all these storms that are causing some problems. But utilities are on schedule or ahead of schedule.
Thanks for pointing that out.
As I recall, we gave CenturyLink a little issue to work on a few months back.
You did. You had asked Kristen about team, and the easements were acquired without rights for them to be in there. They have not contacted us. That doesn't preclude.
So they don't have existing wires there?
Not that I'm aware of. That doesn't preclude their ability to come in at some time, but they would have to.
And it's all above ground?
Get permits. CenturyLink is underground.
It's underground, so they would have to be there.
Yeah, a lot of times they may run on somebody else's network, like a Comcast or CenturyLink, which we don't.
Probably not, because they're fiber optic cable, it's new.
Yeah, I mean, but there's
Okay.
Some of the others that.
I guess it's true, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Al. Thank you. Money. Remember this first line is all three of the design build projects. About another 8 million invoiced, $1.2 million moved over from exposure into a change order, and that change order is largely for the hardscape and the pedestrian lights. So recall we didn't have those decisions made when we awarded the contract. So that money is moved over to pay for that. And if you look at what they invoiced and what was added to the contract, the remaining contract value decreased about 6.8 million, which is the net between those two numbers. Still expect to finish up where we thought all along, and no changes to any of the 6-year program allocations.
Where's the bonus?
Not in there yet.
Not in there. Not in there yet. The 250 Best Buy ramp, and John, maybe I'll let you help a little bit through this. There's been some adjustments made to reflect the fact that they didn't finish on time.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's why you see some of these.
There was also some work that was done with the city that was in there last month. Remember it came.
Right. But the long and short of it is that that's wrapped up. It looks like it will wrap up where it needs to wrap up as far as the final contract expenditures versus the 6-year plan allocations. Adaptive signals of just keeping it on here, although nothing is going to change, I guess, until next year.
We'll probably order the equipment.
Yeah. Hillsdale, all we've got now is the bid quote that's in there that's now a contract number. So we'll start following that through monthly as those guys start building. So from an overall perspective, everything looks where it needs to be, and I will say it reflects. It's a good demonstration to me what you can do locally. Not that $150 million is chump change by any stretch of imagination, but there's a lot of work getting done for that amount of money, which is the way it should be. So we'll keep taking a look at this every other meeting. Any questions, sir?
Yeah, the question I have, will there be a point where we can take the Route 29 design build solutions and break it into the 3 components so that we know what a great separated interchange it actually costs us?
We have, I mean, we can do that with the total value.
We could do that.
Yeah, at one point, I mean, I'm not saying that you should do it every time.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, it would be interesting to say, okay, we did the Great Severn interchange. It did cost us X.
Mm-hmm.
Since the county has some ideas that
Mm-hmm.
maybe there should be more of these, they may as well know what a ballpark figure is for one.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you and Jason talk that through?
We've already got that.
Yeah.
I realize
yeah.
that there are overheads that are hard to apportion, so it may not be a perfectly precise number.
Yeah.
That it would be a good.
Well,
it
we
would
could
be
probably distribute some overheads based on the amount.
But it could be,
Ways
you
to do
know,
that. Sure.
for planning purposes, it could
Yeah,
be a
sure,
very
yeah,
good number,
yeah,
an excellent
okay.
number.
Okay. I think we pretty well talked about this on single timing observations and adjustments, so we don't need to be redundant. We'll stay on. I said last week, or July 7th, we didn't need to make any decisions about this yet. I just keep it in front of you for a couple more meetings. Really, it's what your all's pleasure is for next year. I know Henry said, gee, it looks like maybe schedule monthly meetings and then take a look at the end of the first quarter and reassess, see if we need to adjust any. Speaking personally, I think that makes a lot of sense. I do think it's important to meet every other week through the end of this year because there's still a lot more to do. I don't see that as necessary for next year. Happy to do that if that's what you want to do. But
as a person whose calendar fills up quickly with things beyond her control, I would hope that we could maybe even today settle on something like, 3 would be great for me, just to get those things on my calendar of January, February, March, and kind of pencil them in beyond that, so that I don't do anything else.
I think 3 is, I think option 3 seems.
just schedule a January, February, March meeting and then take a peek and see how we feel about that. Pete?
We raised it last time, nobody seemed to object at the time.
Yeah.
Too many of us here today.
Pete, how do you feel?
Well, I would be going to monthly now, but you guys can meet as often as you want. Whatever you guys want. I'll be here when I can.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
So monthly is good,
At least.
even if it's starting in January.
Okay.
I would rather have a more substantial meeting, less frequently
Right. No, I understand.
than.
I understand. And as we've said before, certainly would like to continue with everybody that's currently on it, understand if time commitments meet otherwise, and we can talk about that later. I'm fine with just saying we made that decision on 3, and unless one of the 4 that were here has some extreme different take on it, which I don't think they would, we'd go ahead and get that done. Is it okay to do it Thursday at 2 o'clock?
As far as I know.
Good, bad? There's no good time to schedule
January,
it.
February, March aren't real full yet.
Yeah. Okay, all right, good deal. This just came in yesterday, so rather than redo the agenda, I added just an update on the bypass right-of-way sell back. If you'll remember, at the April 28th update, we said there were 90 parcels. The number in parentheses is the update we gave you on April the 28th. April 28th, we had 15 sold. That's now flipped. There's 51 have been sold. There were 21 under contract. Obviously, a lot of those have now closed. There's still 9 under contract. Making some progress on resolving some of the condemnation issues that were still outstanding, and I'll be the first one to tell you I don't remember what all those were. Public advertisement, there was a big slot for sale a few months ago. There's still 12 for sale through public advertisement or selling to adjacent landowners. Obviously, nothing's changed here. And I'm not sure how that number bumped up by 2 as far as parcels retained by VDOT for Route 29 Solutions. Maybe we thought there were 3 and there really were 5.
It was 5 originally. Andrew had the wrong number in there at some point, but it's.
Okay, it's 5.
It has
Five is
yes, sir.
5 is the number. Okay, and still the one in litigation, which will probably hang there for a while. So unless my math is way off, this 90, that one's in parentheses, also equal 90. And Kristen, I think you're the one that had asked us to pop that on a graphic, Linda, which I couldn't begin to tell you where any of those colors are or how they match. But there they are. I think these are the ones that are being sold, right? Is that the right color?
Yes, that have been sold.
That have been sold. So getting making a lot of progress on returning that property to landowners. That's all I have. Kristen, any wrap up?
I think I'm good, except that a friend of mine invented some glasses that are really good for most colorblindness.
Give me that card. Okay. Pete?
Can I ask a question about the money that was set aside for the engineering and planning of Hillsdale?
Of Hillsdale?
South
Yes.
Hillsdale.
Yes.
And the potential for grade separated or the intersection of hydraulic.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that was 10 million each for those two
Yes.
pieces. There was something written in Charlottesville tomorrow this week that made a comment about that money to be reprogrammed.
The CTB can reprogram money.
So, okay. So it sounds to me like it probably will be.
Well, it's programmed for fiscal year 19.
19, I understand.
I mean, the CTB is.
I don't have a favor one way or the other.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
how locked up that money was, and it sounds to me like it's not as. This comment made it sound like it was.
The CTB can reprogram to different years or
Just pull it.
increase it or out.
It's locked up with any funding
And
in the 6-year plan until you spend
For
it.
the new government, yeah.
Henry, any? Chris?
No, thanks.
All right. Thank you much, and see you in a couple. And again, please, if you see anything out there, let us know, and I'll follow back up on any changes that are made as